Hi everyone, welcome to The Edge. I'm Russ Layton from Sparx Hockey. Today we are going to address another question from you that's come in to @sparxhockey.com.
Yeah, we got a question from Dan on Facebook regarding the maintenance of the machine. Are there any steps that you can take to ensure the quality of the machine?
Absolutely, thanks for the question, Dan. The beauty about Sparx is that it's fairly maintenance free. What we'll do is we'll go through what your manual recommends today. The first thing you want to do on a routine basis, probably every grinding ring or so, or every half grinding ring of use, first thing to do is put your machine into jog mode so that the carriage doesn't move when you open the door. Then what you want to do is pull out the dust tray. Again, this is every half of a grinding ring. And then what you want to do is use a moistened rag or a towel, and you want to wipe out the tray into a trash can. And the reason why we use a moist towel is so that any of this really, really fine dust doesn't wind up in the air that you're breathing. So if you use a moist towel and then dump this into a trash can, that will safely dispose of the dust that's accumulated in the tray. Discard the towel, bring the tray back up to your work surface, and then what we recommend using is a vacuum. Shop vac is probably okay. If you have a HEPA vacuum, that's even better. And we also recommend using, if you have one of these bristled brushes that goes on the end of the vacuum hose, that helps for when we get to the next step where we're going inside the sharpener. So you'll now turn on the vacuum, which we won't do here because it's loud and it'll affect the video, but you'll turn the vacuum on and you'll vacuum out the tray, removing any of the dust that's accumulated inside the tray. And then what you want to do is now vacuum out the inside of the sharpener. Again, bristled brush is the best for safety for all the components inside the machine. And you'll just move around the machine, getting all the corners, and also get on top of the dust filter itself, the air filter, and just lightly vacuum that air filter cover. And then the next step you want to do is close the door, jog the carriage over towards the middle of the machine so that you can get that far back corner. You want to try to keep your vacuum hose away from the carriage. The carriage is very delicate. It's where all of the alignment and the accuracy of the sharpener is coming from. So don't bump into that carriage if you can with your vacuum hose, and just carefully vacuum in the corners of the machine. You can even turn, if you have one of these bristle brushes, you can turn your bristle brush over. Don't make contact with the belt and the carriage on the inside of the machine. Again, be very careful. You can flip your bristle brush over and just try to vacuum the inside of the machine the best you can, again, without making contact. Now your machine should be clean, or clean enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. The next thing you want to do is, again, close the door, jog the carriage back to home. You can even hit cancel at this point. And we want to go back into jog mode so that the carriage stays in the home position. Now you want to remove your air filter. You'll be replacing your air filter every 4 grinding rings. This is important. The air filter is what traps all this dust in the machine. If the air filter becomes clogged beyond 4 grinding rings, the dust isn't being pulled properly into that air filter. It can come out of the machine. It can get into the mechanisms of the machine, which we want to avoid. So every 4 grinding rings, take the air filter out, discard the air filter. You can, again, if you have a bristled brush, go inside and vacuum out the inside of the air filter housing. Be very careful. There's a seal on the inside of that housing. Be careful to avoid that. We don't want to damage the seal. Order a replacement filter from sparxhockey.com and insert, there's a this side up indicator on here. Insert that new air filter back into the machine and close the air filter housing cover. There is a light on the top of your sharpener which will remind you every 4 grinding rings to replace your filter, but it's best to keep track of that so that you order it in time. Now that your unit's cleaned out, your air filter is replaced, you can put your tray back into the machine. You can close the door. You can cancel out because we're in jog mode to keep the carriage where we want it, regardless of where the door is. Last thing I would say is to vacuum the top of the sharpener. Again, bristle brush is super important here for safety. Slide your scoops as well to vacuum out behind the scoops. And that's pretty much the basic maintenance of the Sparx sharpener. There was a question from Dan as well about parts and service that can be done by the consumer. There really are no serviceable parts on the sharpener itself. We don't use any lubricants, grease or oil. Everything is a dry lubricant design. And so that makes it super friendly, and it doesn't require any sort of lubrication or replacing of parts. If you're traveling, one other thing I wanted to note, and this is important for the safety and maintenance of the machine, if you're ever traveling, included with your sharpener is this travel guard. It says do not discard, don't throw this away. This gets inserted into the machine prior to traveling. This is important because it protects the carriage so that the carriage doesn't move around if the machine is being kind of tossed around during travel. And then lastly, one of the things that we think is really important for maintenance is to cover your machine when it's not in use. A lot of sharpeners wind up being stored in garages and in basements, and moisture and mold and dust, can get into a machine. And so it's really nice to use, we have a Sparx sharpener cover on our website. We recommend just covering up your machine when it's not in use, and that should keep it completely safe. We just went over the maintenance steps, which would keep your sharpener operating as it's supposed to, and we hope this helps. Please keep your questions coming to @sparxhockey.com, and we'll talk to you next week.